All right, hi students. I just want to make sure that you understand how to do your peer reviews, and you actually have 3 things that you have to do for a peer review. So I'm going to go over the first thing, then I'm going to go over the second thing, and then I'm going to go over the third thing, okay? So the first thing that you have to do for your peer review, for your accountability partner, is you are going to read their version of their essay that is on Microsoft Word Online. Now, in order to do that, you're going to do a couple things. All right, so when you open up Microsoft Word Online, it's going to be here at the home key. You must go to Review, click on Track Changes, and then click on For Everyone. What this does is that it shows, Track Changes shows that it shows all the comments that you're making on the document for anyone else who comes and reviews it later. So I just have opened this document that a student wrote in my class earlier or last semester. And so I've turned on track changes. I see that it's on for everyone. And then whenever I type in something, it's going to show my track changes. So for instance, I'm reading this. The first thing I notice is that this is not double space, right? So I'm going to make changes, paragraph options, make sure it's listed as double, click OK, and then it's going to, I don't know if it's showing up, but it should show up that this has been formatted to double space. And then I'm going to read through the essay. One of the things that I'm noticing is that this essay says, my mother in particular, or this sentence says, my mother in particular is very sustainability conscious. That kind of reads a little awkward to me, so I'm going to change to say that my mother in particular is very conscious of sustainability, and then I'm going to delete that. So what this does is it shows, track changes shows all of the edits that I'm making. So it shows that are in red that I typed in conscious of, and that I deleted this word conscious right here. And then it says, in Vermont, everyone for the most part, I'm trying to move that, believes that it is our duty to protect the environment and do our best to live in the most sustainable way. This started from a very young age. I can remember my mother insisting on carpooling. So this is a run-on sentence. So I would shorten this, put a period there, and then I might even make a comment. You can always make comments to your partners. And I would say, I put a period here because this is a run-on sentence. And then you have to make sure you post a comment right there. And so then it says, I can remember my mother insisting on carpooling starting Earth Day at my local elementary school. So I would say I can remember my mother insisting on carpooling starting Earth Day. Earth Day is actually an event, so because it's a proper noun, both words need to be capitalized. Starting Earth Day at my local elementary school, and of course, recycling and composting. I was never forced to participate in any of my mother's actions, but as I grew older and could understand what it all meant, I picked up the same passion for environmental justice as she did. Through my mother's passion, I learned about emotional, social, and philosophical sustainability. And then I might highlight this and say something like, since I'm the professor, good job, you have covered the 3 required aspects of a personal sustainability as you were supposed to do. All right, so again, whenever you're reviewing your partner's essay in Microsoft Word Online, make sure that you go to the top at Review, turn on track changes for everyone, and then any changes that you make, it'll come up. But also, if you want to make comments or write something to your accountability partner. If there's something you don't understand, you can also write that there as well. That's the first thing you're going to do. And then the second thing you're going to do is you are going to open up the sustainability autobiography essay rubric, and you're going to grade your partner. You're going to give your partner a grade. So you are going to play professor for a couple hours. And I want you all to be conscious of how many points each section contains. So for instance, in the formatting section, there's about 15 points that you can give. Now, when I actually grade, if a page does not, or if an essay does not have the minimum number of pages that I require, so if it doesn't have at least 80% of the page, I automatically take off 20% or 20 points. So what that means is that, they lose more than this 15 points. So if you only have 2 pages and you're supposed to have the minimum of 3 pages, or if you were supposed to have the minimum at least of 5 pages and you only have 4 pages, then you start at a B for your assignment, because it's only fair that I give people who put in the effort to write as much as they were supposed to the credit that they deserve. But I don't want you all to really worry about that. I just want you all to know that for me, your grading may look differently, but for you all, I want you all to kind of like follow this general rubric grading schema. And so for the MLA format, see if there's anything that they're doing wrong. If they maybe they don't have 1-inch margins, or maybe they don't have size 12 font, you may want to take off 5 points for that, since there are 3 different criteria in this particular section. So 15 divided by 3 will be 5 points apiece. So you can just, take off accordingly. Maybe they don't have a descriptive title. That might be negative 5 points for them. So I want you to write any comments you have and then how much points you're taking off. And then you want to do the same for the opening. Does the opening situate the reader in the midst of an engaging thought or action that frames the narrative in this very enticing way? Is it clear and concise and move the essay forward? Does it talk about sustainability and mention the 3 aspects of personal sustainability that will be highlighted? All of this is included on the rubric. So you let them know what they're not doing right, and then you take off however many points you want to take off. It's not really, I think if you want to take off 10 points because you think it's a big deal, that's okay. And then the middle ground. The middle ground is worth 30 points. The middle ground is where you kind of like elaborate on your 3 aspects of personal sustainability that you identify in the opening or the introduction. And then you include at least 3 sources or references that kind of like corroborate or substantiate what you have to say. And then do they offer a definition of sustainability that you feel resonates with your essay or with their essay and perspective? And do they go in depth about how they really formed their understandings of the 3 aspects of personal sustainability? And then you're going to go to narrative arc and transitions. We know that the narrative arc is really about, do they have a story that they're telling? And is that story a story that is panning out clearly, right? Can you follow it? Can you understand it? Does it make sense to you? Are you engaged and interested in this story? And then you're going to go into voice. Does their voice come through? Are they providing their audience with really clear examples? If we reflect back on the Malcolm X example of when he was learning to read, he gave you very, very clear examples of, him, being by the small light that was in his cell so that he can read the dictionary and learn more every 58 minutes, so that he would jump back in his cell bed when the guard would come around, but would be right back out there reading as much as he could because he was so enthralled and enamored with the ability of learning how to read. And then in your conclusion, We talked about this on the last lecture, but is your conclusion abrupt, or is it a mere summary of everything you have already said, word for word? So do you like the conclusion, or do you think it's meaningfully written and that it leaves the audience in a satisfying way with the main takeaways? And also, does the conclusion make any apologies or new topics introduced? So then you're going to total up everything all the points that and all the comments you've made, and then you're going to give them a grade, all right? So you must make sure that you give them a grade here. This is where you write in your grade. And then you're going to upload this. The next thing you're going to do, the third thing that you have to do for your peer review, is an RSA conferencing guided worksheet. And actually, this isn't RSA. This is just a conferencing guided worksheet. So the RSA comes later. But what I want you to do is I want you to answer this question. What do you think this paper did well? And you cannot just say that you enjoy the paper. Whenever we do sustainability conferencing over the autobiographies, and I open up and I ask the partner, okay, so what did you like about this paper? They always say, oh, I enjoy the paper. And I say, okay, so what did you enjoy? And they always say, oh, it was a really good paper. And I want you all to encourage your accountability partner. Make them feel good. What specifically did you like? Well, you have to identify that, because when you can identify that, then you can identify it in your own paper and your own work too. Okay? So I want you to also ask for repeated writing mistakes. Did you notice? Maybe they were making the same mistakes over and over. Maybe they have run-ons like we saw in the early example. Maybe, they had really short paragraphs and sentences. Maybe they weren't following instructions. Anything that you notice, any writing mistakes, please point that out here. And then I want you to really hone in on the introduction so that you can explain to them what you liked about the introduction, or if you thought the introduction was strong. Maybe it wasn't strong because it began with a platitude or a soft opening. And we talked about what platitudes were. So if you don't know what a platitude is, make sure you go back to the previous lectures and learn about what platitudes or soft openings are so that you do not have those in your paper. And then in the introduction, can you identify what 3 aspects of personal sustainability this paper covered? So if you can't identify that, then that means this paper has some more work to do, right? And then number 4, is there any way you think that introduction or conclusion can be improved? Give your partner some feedback. They're going to be giving you feedback too, so give them some feedback. I'll also be part of the conferencing session, so I'll be answering every last one of these questions right along with you all. So don't feel like you're out there on your own, okay? I am going to be giving as much feedback as I can as well. And then I want you to answer, did this paper hold your attention? If so, why? If not, why not? We did this with the Malcolm X reading again. We asked, were we interested in what this person had to say? If you weren't interested in what your accountability partner had to say, tell them, say, I don't know, it just lost me here. That's completely fine. Sometimes you have to give feedback in order so that you can be a more better writer. And then number 6 and 7, I want you to review the sources and citations lecture, and then answer if there were any problems with the citations that you can identify. And then I want you to just finally sum up if there was anything else that you would recommend. All right? So that's what you have to do. Those are the 3 things you have to do for a peer review. And I just want to point out that if you have not already signed up for your Sustainability Autobiography Partner Conferencing, please do that. That takes place next week, starting on Mondays and Tuesdays. And I will be on with you and your accountability partner. We will be walking through your papers and really just figuring out how to make it better. The things that you can talk about in the Sustainability Autobiography Conferencing, you can talk about any problems or issues with the MLA format or citations you had, the rubric comments you made, the guided conferencing worksheet you had, or any issues you are having in your writing or in the class. So this is a moment and a time for you all to begin to ask any questions that you have of me in your writing. Okay? So that being said, I hope that this how to do a peer review lecture has been helpful, and I will see you all at your conferencing session.